I think it's finally time to tackle the Tremors series. Back in the 90s, I watched this movie so many times, I lost count. I loved it. The setting, the unique monster, the characters are all great. But did you know they made 7 movies and a TV series? As a kid, I think I only knew of one sequel. So when I found out there was more, I just had to watch them all. They all vary in quality, but I think it's important to pay attention to Bert's story. He really became the focus throughout, overshadowing even the graboids. So let's rewatch each movie, focusing on Bert and how he shaped an entire series. One thing I need to mention right away is how annoying it is when people call the monsters Tremors. They're graboids. Never once are they referred to as Tremors. In fact, I'm not sure the word's used at all throughout any of the movies except for maybe a joke. Some people might get annoyed when you call Frankenstein's monster Frankenstein, but I get annoyed when you call the graboids Tremors. Okay, now that I got that out of my system, let's continue. It opens up with Kevin Bacon as Valentine McGee and his best friend and business partner Earl Bass, played by Fred Ward. These guys are handymen who do small jobs for the citizens of their very small town of Perfection, population 14. One running gag you'll see a lot is that they rock, paper, scissors for everything, whether it's to make breakfast or running for their lives. You know, one time I convinced my grandma that I made up rock, paper, scissors? I was a dumb kid. I don't know why she believed me. On their way back to town, they see a new college student researching seismic activity in the area. Val is super excited to meet her, thinking she's going to be some young, hot blonde with a perfect body. And when they meet her, well, she's kind of a nerd. She introduces herself as Rhonda, and she mentions some odd readings coming from her equipment. These guys don't really have any idea about this stuff, so they just let her do her work. They pull into Walter Chang's market, the only place in town to get supplies. And inside we meet Bert and Heather Gummer, played by Michael Gross and Reba McEntire. I have to say, their on-screen chemistry is great. They're both gun nuts, and to put it nicely, they're preppers. To put it realistically, they're conspiracy theorists. Michael Gross might be better known for his role in Family Ties, which he shot the last episode of, and then the very next day started working on Tremors. Reba McEntire, I believe, needs no introduction. She's famous for being a country music star, but this was her first film, even before going on to make her own TV show, which might come as a surprise to you all, but I actually love. I've seen Reba the TV series at least 3 times. As I mentioned earlier, as we continue down the Tremors rabbit hole, it really morphs into the story of Bert. He's important now, but even more so later. This whole movie, Val and Earl have been talking about how they just want to get out of town and get to the closest city. They can't wait to leave Perfection in their rearview mirror. And the final straw for them, and what makes them leave, is getting sewage spewed all over them. After that, they pack up and head out of town, excited for what's next. But they don't make it too far, because they see one of the locals stuck up in an electrical tower. At first, they think he's passed out drunk up there, but when Val gets up close, he can see he's dead. They take him to the only doctor, and he can tell he died of dehydration. What caused a man to run up a tower scared and not want to come back down for water? Now, it's just one thing after another. This sheep farmer's pulled under, and when Earl finds him, he has what is probably my favorite reaction to anyone seeing a head in the sand.
What? A murderer, man, a real psycho. He's cutting people's heads off. I'm not kidding.
And then these guys working on the only road in and out of town are attacked, boulders falling down and blocking the road. So all hopes of getting out of the city are now squashed. Right now, the survivors assume a murderer is on the loose, so they go back to Chang's to call the cops. But of course, the phone is down, and the radio won't reach the city because of the mountains. So the guys, not knowing the road is blocked, try to go get help. When they see what's happened, They try to get out of there, but the truck isn't moving. When they do finally get back to town, they see what was holding them up. Our very first look at what's lurking underground. Chang buys the giant snake for 15 bucks and charges people to take pictures of it. Always the entrepreneur, that Chang.
Hold it!
Later that night, we check in to see how the doctor and his wife are doing. They're building their dream house out in the desert and can't wait to have it finished so they can stare at the stars every night. I don't blame them. Too bad they won't ever see their house get done. First, the generator's eaten up, and then the doctor himself. His wife hides out in the car, but that's no problem for a graboid who can bury the station wagon in the sand. This shot of the headlights shining up at the starry sky always stuck with me for some reason. The next morning, we see that Bert and Heather just might be enjoying this a little bit more than they should be. With the road out, the only way anyone can get help is by horseback. So Val and Earl saddle up and head off into the desert for some help. Here we get a good look at the environment, with the mountains in the distance, and I guess if it wasn't for the giant worms trying to eat you, this would be a pretty nice place to live. I mean, just look at that scenery. Well, the guys don't make it too far. After finding the doc's car buried up to its headlights, they take off, but the horses get attacked. The ground rises up and it looks like there's gotta be 1,000,000 of them. But no, we see it's just one, and the smaller snakes are like its tongue. This movie does a good job of keeping you on your toes, and we'll see much later on that these things have quite the interesting life cycle. Anyway, they take off and the monster gives chase until it hits a cement wall, and it kills it. Well, that was lucky. Rhonda shows up after hearing all the commotion, and she sees the thing for herself. She's thinking of how important this would be for science, and the guys are thinking dollar signs, and they all wonder where it came from. Everything from government to a mutation to outer space, but we never get a good explanation, at least in this movie. Here we also learn about how it hunts. It doesn't have eyes, but it's super sensitive to vibrations in the ground and uses these little nubs to push it through the earth. According to Rhonda's readings, there are 3 more of these creatures out here, and as luck would have it, one chases right after them. They all go running for some rocks and discover that it can't get them here. So for now they're safe. They just have to wait out the night and check in the morning. And sure enough, it's still there when they wake up. Not being able to leave the rock, they come up with a plan to pole vault from rock to rock until they can make it to Rhonda's truck. And it works. She does some clever driving, and they make it back into town. Everybody comes together to figure out a plan. They know that they need to get to the mountains. They're solid granite, and there's no way these things can make it through that. The only problem is getting to them. The graboids are getting smarter and smarter, while the humans seem to be getting dumber and dumber. Melvin's bouncing a basketball, and Mindy, played by Ariana Richards, who also played Lex in Jurassic Park, is hopping on a pogo stick. I guess they're kids, and they don't know that these things hunt by sound vibrations, but still, come on. The giant worms attack, and the kids are saved, and everyone retreats to their roofs. Up there, they come up with a plan to make a distraction, and Val runs to a bulldozer, having a close call on the way. But his friends get the monster's attention, and he makes it. The monsters can't lift the dozer, and he picks everyone up so they can make it to safety. The last people they need to get are the Gummers, who just moments ago killed another one with nothing but bullets. Well, lots of bullets. But now they know what they're up against, and they prepared for anything, bringing a bunch of guns and a bag full of bombs. What are in these bombs? Well,
New household chemicals in the proper proportion.
It looks like everyone is gonna make it, but the graboids have one more trick up their sleeves. They dug a ditch right in the path of the dozer, and it falls in, and everyone goes flying. They use a bomb to scare it away, and they take off towards the rocks, where once again they're stuck. They can't make it to the mountains, and it seems like all hope is lost. Tensions are high, and Bert and Val get into a little fight. Now, this is my favorite memorable line from the entire movie, and I quote it a lot. Heather's calming down Bert as yelling is getting him nowhere, and she says this.
I know he does. He thinks he knows everything.
It seems like just a little improvised line they threw in there, but it's so genuine. Like these people are really married in real life. I don't know why, but anytime I overhear an argument, I always think of this line, and I even think it in Reva's accent. So anyway, back to the movie. Like I said, they're stuck on the rock and things are looking pretty bleak. Bert says when it comes to starvation, he's just gonna walk out there with a lit bomb and let one of them take him down.
Good Lord, honey.
Which really isn't a bad idea, but maybe tie it to a rope so he doesn't have to die. So anyway, that's what they do. They go fishing for graboids, and it really doesn't take that long for one to bite. It swallows the bomb and blows up as chunks of the monster rain down on everyone. There's only one left, and he's smart. He's not gonna fall for the same tricks like the others. In fact, when they try it, it spits the bomb out and it blows up all the others. So now they only have one left. They need a plan to kill this thing, and Val knows just what to do. He takes off running, and Earl and Rhonda follow after him. They get to a cliff and light the bomb. Val throws it, and he misses. But wait, it blows up and propels the giant worm through the dirt. It's going so fast it can't stop, and it's sent sailing over the edge.
You sucker! Can you fly?
That line always stuck with me for some reason. It's just so out of place. And when I got older, I figured it out. He doesn't say sucker. But it turns out that even in the theatrical release, they made them change all the F-bombs to other words, which gives us this gem.
We killed it! You got that? We killed that mother humper! Come back!
Roger that, Bert, and congratulations. Be advised, however, there are two more mother humpers.
In the end, Val and Rhonda get together and everyone lives happily ever after. Well, up until the next movie, that is. But that was the first Tremors, and if you couldn't tell, I loved it. I like the atmosphere, the characters, and the monsters. But after rewatching it, I noticed something new. Everyone works together. Usually in these movies, there's always one character that's in on it and tries to capture the beast, or wants it alive just to make money. Think about it. Every movie has to have some human villain, but not Tremors. Sure, people butt heads, but there's no bad guy. Everyone wants to kill him, and it's nice to root for everyone for once. At the time, Kevin Bacon said he couldn't believe he was doing a movie about a giant worm, but has since said that Tremors was one of the most fun he'd had on any movie set. And that's saying something. I think the creators paid attention to the details, and they really built a world around a simple idea. A giant worm in the ground that's gonna eat you whole. Maybe it's a bit of nostalgia, but even rewatching Tremors again, I loved it. I give it 3.5 pictures taken with a graboid out of 4.
Hey, Rhonda, you ever heard of anything like this before?
Oh, sure, Earl. Everybody knows about them. We just didn't tell you.
Oh, hell, man, no one ever saw anything like this.